I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania, surrounded by cornfields and silence. My parents weren't farmers, they just liked the idea of space. That space became lonely real fast. I was 6 when we moved in. The house was old, the kind of old where floorboards groaned even when you stood still, and every vent breathed like it had lungs. The room was at the end of the hall, always locked, always avoided. The wallpaper room, my parents called it, but they never explained why. The door had peeling yellow wallpaper on both sides. I'd never seen that before. Wallpaper on a door. It looked like someone had tried to make it disappear. I asked about it constantly. Mum said, "It's just storage." Dad said, "Don't go near it." But kids don't listen. One day while they were out, I found the door unlocked. It was a small room. Nothing but an empty rocking chair, faded flower wallpaper, and dust floating in the sunlight like snowflakes. It smelled like perfume and wet paper. That's when I met Lucy. Lucy wasn't real. At least that's what I kept telling myself. She was a little girl, my age, pale, dark hair, always wore the same dress, white with yellow flowers, just like the wallpaper. She was already sitting in the chair when I first walked in. She didn't blink. "Hi," she said. I was waiting. I ran. I didn't tell my parents. They'd already started arguing all the time. My dad drank more. My mum stayed in her room with the lights off. But I kept dreaming of Lucy. Sometimes I'd hear her voice through the vents. "Come play in the wallpaper. It's warmer in here. I'll be your sister." I stopped going in the room until I woke up there. I don't know how. I fell asleep in my bed, but I woke up in the wallpaper room, lying on the floor, the rocking chair creaking slowly beside me. Lucy was standing in the corner. "You're almost ready," she whispered. Things changed after that. My drawings got strange, pages covered in yellow flowers and stick figures with huge black eyes. My parents found them and freaked. My mum cried. My dad yelled. They accused each other of poisoning my head. That's when the faces started showing up. Not real ones, faces in the wallpaper, faint, like water stains. I'd blink, and they'd be gone. But sometimes I'd catch them smiling, always smiling. I stopped sleeping. My skin started peeling, dry, flaking, like old paper. One night, Lucy visited my room. I don't mean in a dream. I mean she was in my room. I woke up, and she was standing by my bed, her hair hanging down, dripping. "I came from the wallpaper," she said. "You can come back with me." I screamed. My dad burst in, drunk and angry. But when I pointed at the corner, she was gone. He didn't believe me. But the next day, the wallpaper was peeling in my bedroom too, and behind it, more faces. I stopped talking. Completely. I didn't trust my own voice. Lucy visited every night. She started calling me sister, started asking to switch places. "I've been good," she said. I waited so long. The house got colder. My mum's hair started falling out. My dad stopped coming home altogether. I started waking up with yellow stains on my hands. My eyes burned when I looked at the wallpaper room. One night, I gave in. I followed Lucy back inside. The walls were covered in new drawings, my drawings, and on the ceiling, in smeared red crayon, were the words, "Trade accepted." I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My mum said I'd been missing for 3 days. No one found the wallpaper room. They tore down the wall. It wasn't there anymore. Just blank drywall where the door had been. But they never found Lucy either. Because she wasn't real. Except she was. We moved shortly after that. My mum never recovered. She stared at blank walls like she could see something crawling underneath. My dad never showed up again. I tried to forget, grew up, got out, moved to the city, and then, 2 weeks ago, it started again. I found yellow flowers drawn on my bathroom mirror. The wallpaper in my hallway started to bubble and peel, and last night I found a photo I don't remember taking. Me as a child, sitting in a rocking chair in that room, smiling. Behind me, barely visible in the shadows, is Lucy. Same dress, same face. No older. She never aged, because I think she took something from me that day. And now she wants to finish the trade. I can hear her through the wall again, knocking, smiling, saying, "Sister, let me in." I've never talked about this with anyone. Not my friends, not my therapist, not even my wife. I'm only saying it now because I've started hearing it again. The scratching, the soft knock under my bed. And it's been almost 20 years. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, one of those places where the houses all look the same and the trees always seem a little too still. We moved there the summer I turned 9. My parents were overjoyed, said it was the perfect starter home. I remember the scent of fresh paint, the hum of cicadas outside, and the soft creak of the wooden floors under my feet. It felt like a new beginning, except for one thing. My room had a crawl space entrance. It was a wooden hatch built into the floor of my closet. When we moved in, my dad told me not to worry about it. Just access for the pipes and insulation, he said. No need to ever open it. But I noticed things right away. The way the closet door would creak open by itself. The faint smell of mildew that no amount of Febreze could cover. And the way the floor would feel almost warm, like someone had just been walking beneath it. The first time I heard the scratching, I thought it was mice, just little claws scraping at the wood. It started around midnight, light, quick scratches directly under my bed. I froze, too scared to call for my parents. I convinced myself it was nothing, but it kept happening, every night. Same time, same spot. And sometimes I could hear breathing. Low, wet, labored. Like something was struggling to stay quiet. After a week, I got bold. I wanted to prove it was just a raccoon or something. I waited until my parents were asleep. Then I grabbed my flashlight and crept to the closet. I stared at the crawl space hatch for a long time. It was dusty, with a thick metal ring for a handle. My hands were shaking as I opened it. The smell hit me first, damp earth and rot, like something had died in there. I pointed my flashlight into the hole. It was mostly empty. Dirt floor, a few old pipes, cobwebs hanging from the beams. But then something moved. It was fast, just a blur of pale skin scuttling deeper into the shadows. I dropped the hatch and stumbled back, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The next morning I told my mum. She looked tired, more tired than usual, and just said, "You have an overactive imagination." My dad didn't even look up from his coffee. That night, the whispering started. At first, I thought it was the wind, but the words were too clear, too deliberate. It said my name, over and over, in a voice that sounded like a child imitating an adult. A warped, broken tone that sent chills through my entire body. I buried myself under the blankets and cried, but it kept whispering. And I swear to God, I whispered back. The thing wanted to play games. That's what it told me one night. Clear as day. It said, "Let's play knock-knock." I was too afraid to move, but I felt a pressure, like something watching from beneath me. I knocked once on the floor. It knocked back. Twice. I ran from my room and slept in the hallway after that. My parents were getting worse. My mum forgot to pick me up from school 2 days in a row. My dad lost his job and just stopped shaving, stopped talking. The house started to rot, mold in the corners, strange stains on the ceiling. And then, one night, it left me a gift, a toy truck I'd lost at our old house, one I was sure I left in the moving van. It was placed neatly at the foot of my bed, dirt smeared on the wheels. I asked my mum about it. She didn't remember it at all. The next night, a drawing slid out from under the closet door. It was done in crayon. 2 stick figures, one labelled me. The other was taller, black, with long limbs and no face. It had a jagged mouth drawn with a red crayon. The word friend was scrawled underneath it. The whispering that night was louder, more urgent, and for the first time I whispered, "No." It got quiet after that, but not for long. Emily lived across the street. We were in the same class, though we didn't talk much. One day she came up to me at recess and said, "Your house is weird." I asked what she meant. She said she saw a man under our porch. He was crawling, she said, but his arms were too long. That night, Emily disappeared. The police came around, asked questions. My parents seemed dazed, barely answered. I didn't say anything. Not until the thing spoke again. I showed her. It whispered, "Now it's your turn." The next few days were a blur. I stopped eating. My mum sat in the kitchen for hours, just staring at the wall. My dad started locking the bedroom doors at night. I set a trap, a disposable camera, a motion light. I aimed them at the closet, left the camera on the dresser. That night, the light clicked on. I saw a shadow stretch across the floor. Then everything went black. When I developed the film, only one image came out. It was of my room, faintly lit. In the corner, crouched in the crawl space opening, were eyes. Too big, too bright. And behind them, a shape, a child-sized figure with jointed limbs bent the wrong way. Its hands were resting on the edge of the hatch, waiting. I showed my mum. She tore the photo in half and said, "That room doesn't have a crawl space." The final night still plays in my head like a loop. I woke up to the sound of wood cracking. The crawl space hatch was open. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. I saw fingers, long, wet fingers, grip the edge, and then a face. Or what looked like one. No eyes, just that red crayon mouth, smiling. It pulled itself up, joint by joint, limb by limb. It was silent, but inside my head, it screamed. I blacked out. When I came to, I was in the front yard. The house was on fire. The neighbors said they saw smoke, called 911. My parents survived. Barely. They never spoke of it again. The fire department said it was faulty wiring. But one of the investigators found something strange. A second crawl space, unmarked in the blueprints, buried behind the insulation. Inside, scratched into the walls, were hundreds of symbols, scribbled drawings, and one sentence, etched deeper than the rest. "I'm not finished." I grew up, moved far away, tried to forget. But last week, I found that same red crayon drawing on my kitchen table. Same smiling mouth, same long-limbed figure. I don't have a crawl space. I don't even have a closet. But at night, I hear it knocking, from under the bed. When I was 8, my parents moved us to a new neighborhood in upstate New York. It was quiet, old, and the kind of place where nothing ever really changed. But the house we moved into had a strange reputation, even if no one said it out loud. It had too many mirrors, big ones, tall standing mirrors in every bedroom, even one in the hallway, built into the walls, like someone needed to see their reflection all the time. The first one was in my room. an old brass-framed thing bolted to the wall across from my bed. I hated it. Not at first, but because of what I saw. You know how when you look into a mirror long enough, your face starts to look wrong? Like your smile lasts too long, or your eyes stop blinking. I learned that early, because one night my reflection didn't move. I tilted my head left. It went right. It grinned. I didn't. I screamed. But by the time my mum got there, everything was normal. She said I was dreaming. Said it was just my imagination. But I stopped looking at mirrors after that, because something was inside them, and it knew who I was. I started avoiding my reflection. I wouldn't brush my teeth unless the bathroom light was off. I kept a blanket over the mirror in my room. But sometimes I'd catch a glimpse, and it was always off. My eyes were too big, my mouth slightly open, like I was mid-sentence in a conversation I didn't remember having. One day, it waved at me. I didn't wave back. Later that night, I found a note under my pillow, a folded piece of paper written in my own handwriting. You forgot our promise. Let me be real. Just once. I showed it to my mom. She looked pale, but told me I'd written it in my sleep. That wasn't my handwriting. Not exactly. It looked like mine, but the letters were too tight, too precise, like someone mimicking me, trying to be me. Things started disappearing. My toothbrush, my school notebook, one of my shoes. I thought it was my parents messing with me, but they were growing distant too. My dad worked late. My mum stayed in bed all day. The mirrors started fogging up, without steam. Even when no one was in the bathroom, the glass would be cloudy, and behind the fog, shapes, fingers, faces. One night I got brave. I stared straight into the mirror. It stared back. I asked, "Who are you?" My reflection didn't answer, but its mouth moved. I don't know what it said, but the words formed slowly, deliberately, like it was trying to teach me how to say them. And then it did something I'll never forget. It stepped back. I didn't. I was still standing at the glass, but the other me walked away, into the dark. I told my teacher at school. She called my parents. My mum showed up crying. My dad yelled at me on the drive home, saying I embarrassed them. That night, they took the mirror out of my room. But the damage was done, because the next day, someone showed up at school. Someone who looked just like me. Same haircut, same backpack. But when I asked my teacher, she said, "You were already marked present." I was standing right there, but someone else had already been me that day. The teacher said it was stress, a breakdown. My parents said I needed therapy. I begged them to listen, begged them to look in the mirror with me. They wouldn't. They started locking their door at night, and then the mirror came back. I found it propped against my closet one morning. The glass cracked straight down the center. But when I looked in, the other me was still whole. He was smiling. The night I left was the night I finally snapped. I heard laughter. My voice, coming from inside the mirror. It wasn't echoing, it was originating, like there was a room on the other side, another version of my room. I tried to cover the glass. It didn't work. At some point, I must have passed out. When I woke up, my reflection was gone. I mean, gone. Just blank glass. No me. Then I heard footsteps downstairs. I crept down and found my mum making breakfast. She didn't look at me, just set 2 plates. "Don't be late for school," she said. But she never turned around. When I looked at the table, there were already 2 plates half eaten, and someone walked out the front door, wearing my backpack, wearing my face. I ran away that night, hitchhiked out of town. never looked back. Years later, I saw a photo online from my old neighborhood, a local news article about a missing boy. In the background, behind the photographer, there's a reflection in a window. A boy with my face, staring, grinning, still wearing my old backpack, still waiting to come back through.